This is episode 60 of Pinnacle FC, and we're coming in hot. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. Jake himself, I think you're coming off a perfect midweek in the Champions League. 5 for 5. You're now up to just about 6 units of profit in the Champions League. Myself, decent enough. I'm still over 8 units of profit, but now we're back to boring old domestic play where we got to kick things into gear. So let's make sure that hot streak continues heading into this podcast this week. We should remind you all the markets that we use on this podcast are courtesy of Pinnacle, the home of smart betting. Well done midweek, Jake. Just rounding into form nicely about now.
Yeah, hopefully. Some of the bets in midweek just seemed like gimmies, really, didn't they? Goal lines that were set too low. Even when you thought they were high, they were still low. Just like we were saying before recording, there's just an unbelievable amount of goals scored across the 2 days in the Champions League. So something to bear in mind heading into the next round of fixtures. But yeah, back to the meat and drink, back to the regular old slog of the domestic season. Let's see if we can get this back on track.
And just if you're a regular listener or viewer to this podcast, we just try to give you as much information as possible, even on games that we're avoiding. For example, Napoli midweek. Like, we just let you know that with the injury issues and Jake from the outset, Conte in the Champions League, like we're trying to give you as much information, even if it's not part of our best betting board anyway. So stay tuned throughout and we'll provide you with as much intel as we possibly can. As we do on this podcast each and every week, 5 units of 5 units basically to play with in terms of our best bets, but we're going across the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and Bundesliga, and anything else that may catch our view that may be making our board or a personal slate for the weekend. So let's start off like we do every week with the Premier League. Don't worry, El Clasico, a complete preview, is upcoming a little bit later on this podcast, as well as Bayern Munich's walk in the park or stroll through the Bundesliga season before they go on and win another Bundesliga title. All right, the Premier League this weekend. What's catching your eye? What are you seeing? And what's making your board this week?
Yeah, we'll start with one of the first games out, which is Newcastle Fulham. I'm quite happy to swing big, really, and back Newcastle win to 0 at plus 182. Looks a bit of a big number to me. Newcastle look very good. We mention it pretty much every podcast at the moment. The defence is one of the best in Europe, allowing very few chances, just 0.7 expected goals against. Arsenal, the only team that are better at the moment. And it's come against a tough schedule as well. They've played 6 of the sides who finished in the top 9 last season already. And we're only 8 games into the season, so they've only had 2 games against sides that weren't very good last season. And Fulham, I mentioned it last week when I backed Arsenal to win an under 2.5 goals. They've got real attacking issues. They're not creating anywhere near enough chances or anywhere near the level of chances we've seen from them the last couple of seasons. Just 1 expected goal for per game. Obviously got beat 1-0 by Arsenal last week, created very little. Away from home, just 0.86 expected goals for per game. And up against a Newcastle team that are very, very stubborn. It's going to be hard for them to do anything, really. So quite confident on this one. Also worth mentioning, Newcastle rotated in midweek as well. In the Champions League, Joelinton, Sandro Tonali, they didn't play. Anthony Elanga, he didn't start either. So, and extra bonus minutes really for Ramsey, for Miley, for Barnes, for Jacob Murphy. So it just shows they've got the squad depth to deal with this, whereas perhaps 2 years ago when they were in the Champions League, they didn't. So I'm quite bullish on Newcastle and their chances moving forward.
Just a quick note on Fulham. I was just listening to Marco Silva speak before we hit record on this podcast. Sasha Lukic looks like he's back in contention, but still the number of players in attack, even Jedi Robinson, Anderson at the back, like there's still a number of injuries. And, I think that the team is okay, but top level depth, they're not a squad that's necessarily blessed with it either. So, and obviously Newcastle at St. James's Park, it's just a completely different animal. Just determine the team in terms of their home performances and away performances as well. All right, so Jake likes Newcastle. What else are you looking at this weekend in the Prem?
I think we've got to back Man United to come back down to earth with a bit of a bump against Brighton. It's a nice matchup at a nice time, really, because the price for Brighton on the handicap, you're getting half a goal head start, minus 119. You can back Brighton to win outright, plus 243. I would back both of them personally. Two reasons. Man United, obviously, they got a good result last week, but the scoreline flattered them. They won 2-1. They conceded over 2.7 expected goals. Liverpool hit the post numerous times. Lammens made a couple of good saves. Gakpo missed that glaring header from about a yard out. So, and that's kind of, it's every week with United. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Actually rank as the fourth worst on expected goals. So they're just giving up chance after chance, really. And Brighton, not only have they got an unbelievable record against United. I mean, I'm not one that looks too much into head-to-heads because obviously managerial changes, player changes, but they've won 6 of the last 7 head-to-heads, won all the last 3 trips to Old Trafford. But the one for me that I really like, the stat, is just Brighton's record against good teams is phenomenal. I mentioned it when we backed them to beat Man City earlier in the season. And last season it was fantastic. This season they've played Man City, Tottenham, Chelsea, and Newcastle. They've won 3 of those and drew the other, so they will not be frightened one bit of going to Old Trafford, even if United have, picked up a couple of wins recently. So I'm on Brighton on the handicap to avoid defeat and Brighton to win at plus 243.
That Manchester United bloke who's not cutting his hair until they win 5 games in a row. How long is this going to go on for? He's going to be like Rapunzel. It's going to be. It looks ridiculous already. Look, as much as I was fist pumping that United did beat Liverpool last week, go on United, I was still like watching through my fingers because it was ugly. The midfield doesn't work. There's not enough talent or positional fits in terms of wide areas. What I do know about this Manchester United team, they're creating chances. They're second in expected goals in the Premier League, and they're bottom 4 in expected goals against. Brighton are top half in both of those categories as well. So I edged it to the goal line. It's set at 3. You could also make a play, both teams to score over 2.5 at minus 122. Not quite enough juice for me on either side just to entirely get involved. But what I do like, and it's an alternative play, is Brighton on the team total over 1.5 at plus 141. That seems to be the best angle to attack this game because I, like you, I'm not as confident making a pro Brighton outright play. A 2-2 draw, it seems like a relatively reasonable outcome. But I do think that Brighton can go to Old Trafford and score goals against this United side. So that's the play that I would make. It's not going to make my board, but that's the way I'm leaning for this game as well. All right. Let's continue on with the Prem this weekend. Jake, what else? I know you like the board this week, so have at it.
Yeah, I think this is one I was to and fro in about Villa Man City. Initial look, Villa look a big price, but I think I'm at a point where I want to trust City to win and kind of become a bit of a believer in this new version of City, that they've found some consistency and the performances are very, very good on a week-to-week base, game-to-game basis. That I think City to win at minus 112 is a bit of a bet as well. I mean, if a year ago you weren't getting anywhere near this price when City went to Villa, and that was when they'd lost Rodri. They'd obviously were on a bit of a bad run, but Villa were about 2-1 to win that game. You're getting much bigger now, and yeah, I think that this is a good opportunity for City. Villa, they're just a funny team. They're obviously on a good unbeaten run. They play in midweek, play tonight, we're recording this on Thursday, in the Netherlands, which I do think is a bit of a negative for them because they've got a bit of travel extra.
Brilliant team name, Go Ahead Eagles.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a Philadelphia Eagles fan, Go Ahead Eagles, come on. It's a good name.
Yeah, but in the Prem, Villa, they're 16th in terms of expected points, 17th in terms of expected goals for, so they really aren't anywhere near the levels we've seen previously. And like I said, City just looking the real deal. They're rattling off comfortable wins. Haaland scoring every game. They're creating enough chances to win. They're doing it in a controlled fashion. And defensively, they've looked pretty solid. They've kept teams out very regularly. And the way in which Villa's attack is kind of going at this moment in time, I wouldn't even put anybody off backing City to win to 0 because Villa against Tottenham last week, it was only 2 worldies that won them the game, really. Other than that, they did nothing in attack. So, I think I've turned the corner on City now, where I actually think that they could well be a very dangerous title challenger.
Yeah, I think a cracking bet here is both teams to score no at plus 132. Villa bottom four in expected goals. You kind of documented that. City have pulled off 3 clean sheets in a row since conceding twice against Monaco in the Champions League. They've only conceded 6 goals in the Premier League. They've been very tight at the back and one of the best teams in the Premier League in terms of expected goals against. I know that Nico Gonzalez left the game and Rodri's unavailable, but I'm sure that there's going to be a pivot because the structures look good and very different from what we've seen in previous seasons with Pep. So this new evolution, I think there's more control there, and they rely on players like Erling Haaland to be match winners like they are. Makes a whole lot of sense for me. And look, if Villa do end up playing defensive, try to grind out a point, I don't think they want to play a wide open game with Man City, then perhaps they can frustrate City on the day. So at plus 132, that's a good number for me to back both teams to score no. All right. I'll just keep on going, and I'll just keep on adding my news and notes on top of you. I think you like the slate better than I do this week, so keep on rolling, Jake.
Yeah, a bet that I quite like whenever Bournemouth play at home is the unders, under 2.5 goals. Just so happens they're playing against Nottingham Forest this weekend, who have just been taken over by Sean Dyche, who is a very defensive manager.
Welcome back, Sean Dyche. Can't deal with you.
No more woke nonsense, as he would say, or not, as he recently said. So I don't know why I get attributed to that meme. I never even said that, but fair enough. Under 2.5 goals.
It seems like it'd be something he'd say.
Yeah, I mean,
no more of that Ange nonsense. That's what it should be, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Under 2.5 goals, plus 103. It's a big number. I mean, Bournemouth themselves are a low-scoring team at home. So this season they've gone under in 2 of the 4 games. The 4 games have only averaged 2 goals per game. Last season they actually went under 2.5 goals in 13 of 19. And averaged just 2.1 goals per game at the Vitality. So if you take that start of last season to now, it's 65% of the games have gone under 2.5 goals. And then if you look at, Dyche, we know what he's going to do. He's going to go in there. They've been shipping loads of chances, loads of goals from set pieces. He's going to tighten them up and make them hard to beat. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the quickest thing to do in terms of fix-wise to make them more competitive. So just steady the ship. Forest play on Thursday as well. He'll want to keep things tight this weekend. But even if you look at his away record last season, while he was at Everton, 70% under hit rate away from home as the Everton manager. The season before that, it was 53%. So, yeah, everything to me points towards quite a low-scoring game, quite an attritional, probably a narrow win either way, or maybe even a draw. But I just thought the unders was a cracking bet, plus number.
Watch and brief for me. I want to see what this looks like. Nottingham Forest have been dragged all over the place here. Like, this is going to be their 3rd different style of play, and Sean Dyche's style of play isn't necessarily identical like for like to Nuno either. So I need to see what it's all about. But Bournemouth don't give up many chances at home. Their expected goals against is superior. I think it's like one of the best, if not the best, in the Premier League as well. But nothing for me there. Keep going, Jake. Go ahead. What else?
Everton to beat Tottenham, plus 138. Might seem quite short for some, but Tottenham are flattering to deceive, basically. They've lost quite a few, I think they're winless in 3 home games now, lost 2 of them. Away from home, the results have been okay. Look, the performances are just not matching those results. I mean, they went to Leeds and were comfortably outplayed. Luckily got a good 3 points in the end, but it's the same in 4 of the 5. They've lost the XG battle in 4 of 5, posting a negative expected goal difference. And Everton, at home in particular, they've been excellent. I mean, they're unbeaten. They beat Crystal Palace last time out with a very late goal. I'm sure that there'll have been frustration within the camp last week that Grealish couldn't play against his parent club because just after scoring that 93rd minute winner, they would have been buzzing going in towards the Etihad and will have definitely given City a better game. But he'll be chomping at the bit to get back, Grealish, and I think he'll cause all sorts of problems for Spurs, who also had to travel to Monaco midweek, played out a very tough goalless draw, another game in which they really struggled to create any chances. Just 1 expected goal per game on the season for Tottenham is absolutely pathetic. As daft as it sounds, but Tottenham are basically playing like Sean Dyche's Burnley. Like they are just playing so fine margin. They're looking at being hard to beat, but they're creating nothing. And if it continues, they're ultimately going to fall down the table. I know they're in a bit of a lofty position at the moment, but they're going to finish round about in the bottom half again because ultimately goals win your games, and if they're not creating enough to score them, they're not going to win a lot of football matches.
No Kulusevski, no Madison, no Solanke. Kolo Muani just came into the game for the first time last time out against Aston Villa. It's just, and more importantly, at the back right now, Christian Romero missed midweek. I believe he's out on the weekend as well through injury. They started a center back pairing of Gray and Danso. I think that Everton, what they do well playing at home is they bring the intensity. They just come in waves. They're so athletic, and you're right. They missed a little bit of quality with Jack Grealish. I'm going to go Everton team total over 1.5 goals again at plus 135. I like you. I side with the home side in Everton. These games are adding up. The injuries are adding up for Spurs as well. I think it's a good time. And if Romero's out, he's just such an important player for the Spurs team, just keeping that back unit together. Doggy's still out as well, if that matters to you. But yeah, that's my play. Everton on the team total. I think you're getting some good value, juiced up a little bit at plus 135. Okay, cool. Anything else?
No, that's me done in the Prem.
Okay, Wolves, Burnley. The total's far too low. Again, 2.25. I'm still hitting all of these 2.25. Wolves are now just about healthy. And Burnley is dreadful in terms of the chances that they give up, especially away from home. A 10.96 expected goals against away from home. And Wolves, 4-11 for home games. That's a lot of goals scored at the Molineux as well. You can get over 2.25 at plus 107. I'm betting the number rather than the game. And Burnley did score twice last week in a game where the line, I believe, was at the same, so it was only a half loss. But I think that this game could provide, go well over the 2-goal total. And I've been trying to find a way to get on side with Crystal Palace and Arsenal. Arsenal home, it's never a game that you want to bet against. Palace has played up to the level of their opponent. So I've been having a little bit of a debate here. Both teams to score, yes, at plus 104. Does Palace score? But then I've kind of defeated my own argument trying to find a way in backing Palace here. And I end up, when Arsenal plays at home, you have to bet them to win to nil, especially when there's going to be a little bit of added juice. So Arsenal to win to nil is at plus 140. And as much as I want to get on side with Crystal Palace, I just can't get there. I just can't. So I actually think that Arsenal are that good defensively. They played Tuesday as well in the Champions League, and I think that matters. Plenty of turnaround time here. Just to mention for this game, the team that's best in terms of expected goals in the Premier League is Crystal Palace at 19.4. And the best expected goals against in the Premier League is Arsenal at 5.54. I'm just going to pick that the defensive side wins out this time around. So it's one of those clash of the Titans in terms of the analytics of this game. And we'll see if a good defense beats a top-notch offense as well. Also, really quickly, Brentford, Liverpool. I like over the total of 3 at minus 109. You saw Liverpool kind of find their sea legs a little bit midweek in the Champions League. It was just required because they've been creating plenty of chances. Brentford created over 3 expected goals against West Ham on Monday. Liverpool's back four still. You lack any confidence in it whatsoever. But Eintracht Frankfurt was the remedy for Liverpool, I think, to get back on track. I think that any time that they play, the amount of chances that they concede and create, it's worth backing. And when the total's at 3, not 3.25, not 3.5, you have to back that number in this one. So over 3 at minus 109, I'll be making that play as well. All right. Anything else from the Premier League? I think that's just about it. Almost covered almost all the games.
Nearly all the games, yeah.
Let's go to La Liga, and it's the first El Clasico of the year. It's played on Sunday. Real Madrid hosting Barcelona. And the storylines coming into this one is about the players who are absent. Real Madrid, cluster injuries, a number of defensive players all out through injury, and Barcelona, far from full strength, missing a number of their top attacking options as well. Notably, when it comes to this tie, I mean, Real Madrid are pretty considerable favorites according to the markets on Pinnacle as well. These fixtures, these El Clasicos in recent vintage as well, have brought the goals. Over 2.5 goals have played in their last 10, and both teams to score has played in the last 6 of 7. How are you attacking this one? The injuries are something that simply cannot be ignored, and I just wonder how they factor into the way that you handicap this game.
Yeah, I mean, the goal total's high. I was very tempted with Barcelona on the handicap. They're getting a half a goal head start at -117. But I think the best bet on the board is just to back Barcelona to score 2 or more goals at -104. I mean, this is a very high functioning attack, and it doesn't matter who's playing, really. They're going to create chances and they're going to score goals. This season, best attacking team in the league, 2.6 expected goals per game. And if you just look at the strike rate for them scoring twice or more, landed in 9 of 12 this season. That's a 75% hit. 27 goals in 12 games, which is 2.25 per game. Last season, 46 out of 60 saw them score 2 or more goals, 77%. They scored 174 times in that period. That's 2.9 per game. And last season, they scored 15 goals in 4 games against Real Madrid. So they had no problems whatsoever when it came to these big games. And yeah, I think this is set up perfectly to be a bit of a ding dong game, and it's partly like the importance of this game is the two biggest clubs, the historic rivalry, of course, but these two teams are just streets clear of everyone else in the Liga. These games are even more important when it comes to the title race. Both of these matches, the two head-to-heads, are title deciders effectively. If Barca win both of these Clásicos, they're going to win the league, and vice versa. So it puts even more emphasis on these individual matches because apart from potential games against Atletico Madrid, the odd away game that's tricky like Celta or Villarreal, these two teams are going to beat the rest of La Liga. It's just a case of who these two games deciding. So we're going to see both teams go for it. And Real Madrid, they've been solid at the back generally, but they've shown glimpses of real weakness. So away at Sociedad, they conceded over 3 expected goals, and Sociedad are a really bad team. Like they're third bottom of the table. They're really struggling. And obviously in the Madrid derby, we saw them concede 5 goals and 2.8 expected goals. So there are defensive frailties there to be exploited. And I don't think it matters that Barca are missing too many of their attacking players because they've got, Marcus Rashford stepping up, for example, and Fermin Lopez is playing really well. You've got Olmo coming back into the fold, maybe. Ferran Torres, potentially. And obviously you've got Lamine Yamal. So whenever you've got him, you've got a chance of scoring a couple of goals. So that's my best bet in this one. 2 or more goals, -104.
Well, Olmo hasn't played. Torres hasn't played. Lopez just came back against Olympiacos midweek. They've been playing a 17-year-old in Fernandez in that attacking front four. And I'm just not a believer in Marcus Rashford. Really, when the going gets tough, I need to see him get going. I trust this Real Madrid side more. Look, even with Militao, Asensio, Valverde playing at right back, I still think that you have enough there. Players like Camavinga, we're coming off the bench midweek. I think that this Real Madrid group, just in terms of the players that are available, are much more structured and capable of coming away with an important win here. So I'm thinking, how's the best way to get on side with this and try to get as much juice out of this, understanding that there are goals in this fixture, and I don't think that changes for this one as well. I like both teams to score, yes, and Real Madrid to win, and that plays at +205 on Pinnacle. I also like Real Madrid to win and over 2.5 goals scored in this game, and that plays at 152. So by virtue of both teams to score, providing a little bit more juice at +205, that will be my official play. Both teams to score, yes. Madrid to win at +205. Just a reminder, Barcelona's gone over 2.5 in 9 of 9, and both teams to score has played in 6 of 6 this season. And Real Madrid are on better form right now with 4 wins, clean sheet against Juventus. I know it hasn't been great for Juve midweek. Also, something to keep an eye on is the cards. It hasn't been posted on Pinnacle as of yet, but this fixture has gone over 4.5 cards in 5 of the last 6 meetings as well. So keep an eye whenever Pinnacle drops that between now and kickoff. It's worth a look to see what the numbers are at. If the number makes sense to you, I wouldn't dissuade you from playing any sort of card total in this game as well. All right. What else in La Liga this week? Anything else catching your eye?
Yeah, just a straight home win. Espanyol plus 107 to beat Elche. Espanyol have been very
Loving
good.
my Espanyol. Yes.
They've been very good. 3-1 at home this season. They were on a four-match winless streak. They went to Oviedo and won 2-0, racked up over 4 expected goals. So it was a very emphatic 2-0. And at home, they've been very good, especially in attack. Over 2 expected goals created per home game. And then Elche, they're 0-3-1 away. The process is really poor. So you've got a really good team versus a really poor away team. 0.7 expected goals is all they're mustering away from home, Elche. And that's not even against a tough schedule. I mean, they play Atletico Madrid in the first away game, and since then they played at Sevilla, at Osasuna, at Alaves. So yeah, I'm all over this plus number. I think there's been a bit too much factored into Elche's league position as opposed to their actual process.
Yep, I'm on Espanyol to win. I'm also on Espanyol team total over a goal and a half at plus 120. They are third in La Liga in expected goals, and it's not just their previous game. The output is generally being consistent. Some big totals, especially against weaker opponents playing at home. I think it's a good context for Espanyol to score multiple goals in this game. The match total at 2.25 is low for me, but at a minus number, I'd rather just back Espanyol to score those goals and get up to the total of 2. And at plus 120, there's more than enough juice in it for me to make that play. That will be making my board this week. It's one of my favorite plays on this week's slate. Anything else in La Liga for you?
No, all done in La Liga.
I know. I mean, Athletic Club, I was under the number, and I thought they'd keep a clean sheet against Qarabag. They did end up winning 3-1. The game was manic. Like, they were throwing the kitchen sink at Qarabag in the Champions League this week. The fact that the Williams brothers are back in tow just changes the complete context of that team. I mentioned it in the Champions League podcast, even though the bet didn't cash. But I'll just go Athletic Club to win to 0 against Getafe this weekend at plus 129. It's a team with the best expected goals against in La Liga playing at home against the team with the worst expected goals in Getafe. So it just lines up. I'll back Athletic Club to start getting things right against a team that doesn't create very much whatsoever. And a slight lean to Villarreal in the handicap at minus a quarter of a goal as they're away at Valencia. You can also play the money line on this one outright at plus 126. I want to see if the number moves, but Valencia have really struggled. They've lost 3 straight games, I believe, all by the score of 2-1. And I think there was a draw in there as well, but they just haven't been convincing at all. I think this is a good back on track game. Good spot for Villarreal coming off a tough loss against Man City in the Champions League midweek, but they're a good enough team in there. They're in that second tier in La Liga right after the big 2. Also, just one more I'll quickly mention. Rayo Vallecano, they're my second sweetheart club after Espanyol in La Liga. I like their team total at over a goal and a half at plus 160 against Alaves. The game total, the total for this game is set at 2, and I don't even mind over at minus 105 as well. So that's what I'm looking at in Spain this weekend. To the Serie A we go. A couple of interesting fixtures. I wonder if you have your eye on anyone in particular, Jake.
None of the interesting ones, no. No, I like
Napoli takes on Inter this weekend. Nothing there. Napoli, Inter.
I'm leaving that.
No,
I'm leaving
okay.
that one. I mean, I'm torn because you look at some of the results and the data that these two teams are posting, and it kind of points to the over. But then you look at the kind of head-to-heads between teams that are good up and around there. You Milan's, Roma, Inter, Napoli, and they're all quite low scoring. So yeah, I mean the total's what 2.25. I could have a lean either way. Just going to swerve that one, to be honest. I could see that being a 0-0 draw. Both teams shake hands, move on, try and win the title by beating everyone else. But yeah, I'm going to focus on Milan against Pisa because I think Milan win to 0 at plus 107 is one of the best bets on the board. Top versus bottom. Milan were excellent last week. They didn't win to 0 for us, but they thoroughly deserved to beat Fiorentina. Conceded very few chances in that game again. Best defensive process in the league. Take on Pisa, who are winless. They've scored just 3 goals in 7 matches. 18th for expected goals against, so they're conceding the third most chances, and they're creating the third fewest expected goals as well. Failed to score in 5 of 7, lost to 0 3 times, and now they make the trip to Milan, who are rolling at the moment. Milan to win to 0 at plus 107.
Well, I was just going to play. It's a Friday fixture. I was just going to play AC Milan on the handicap at a goal and a half at minus 110. Straight up. I mean, I like, the win to 0 as well, but this is just one of them. I'm surprised that the handicap didn't make its way up to 2 goals. So I do think that you're getting. I know it's as chalk can be, but I mean, this is the one game on the slate this week. You're like, yeah, like just tick a box, like. Yeah, I think there's still some value there to be had. Anything else in Serie A?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep opposing Fiorentina until they prove to me that they've turned something around. They're at home to Bologna this weekend, and Bologna, you can get them draw no bet at minus 103, which is just a cracking bet for me. They had a poor start, Bologna. They lost 2 of the first 3, but they did come against Roma and Milan. And since then, they've won 3, drawn 1 of the last 4. They're basically doing what you'd expect them to do against the rest of the league and against the top teams. They're playing them close. I mean, both those defeats were 1-0, but ultimately defeats. And Fiorentina still winless, 1 expected goal for, 1.7 against. Really poor process for a team that finished in the top half comfortably last season. They've lost all 3 of the home games against Napoli, Como, and Roma. 3 top half teams, and I put Bologna in that category as well. I think that they're more than capable of finishing that top 6 this season. And then both of them are away from home in Europe on Thursday, so there's no advantage there either way. And I just think Bologna are a better team, and they're not priced like it.
I have the exact same play. I'll add one more. Sassuolo at home to Roma. Roma were unlucky losers based upon the data to Inter last weekend. They fell 1-0 at home. I think it's a good bounce back spot. Sassuolo's done reasonably well, but Roma are just the better side, and you can get them to win outright away from home against a promoted side. And Roma has been a really solid team at minus 112. I'll be making that play as well. And file this in the category of they are due. Verona against Cagliari at home. They haven't won yet this year, Verona, but in terms of expected point total, they're like a mid-table side. Cagliari are one of the worst in the league. If you're going to win a game, it's going to be now at home against a bad team, and you can get them at plus 133. So you think it's a really good spot to back them here. If they don't win this game, yikes, there'll be some serious issues. But the process is being better than the actual output for Verona. So, plus 133. I will be making that play as well. All right, to Germany, the Bundesliga we go, aka Bayern Munich stroll to another title. There's no better team in club football today than Bayern Munich. It's hard to argue against it, whether it's the Champions League, whether it's the Bundesliga. They are just rolling, and they play at Borussia Mönchengladbach this week. Is there a way to get on side with Bayern Munich here? I think, it's very difficult to make any case to oppose them whenever they're playing. Is there an argument to be made to get on side with them in anything that you're seeing according to the market?
Not really. They do have a tendency to concede away from home and keep things clean at home. So it would be leaning Bayern winning both teams to score, but I've just avoided that altogether. I think we're at a point now where Bayern are getting priced silly, but you can't back against them, as you said. You're getting short prices whenever, like every single match, and you kind of nod along and say, yeah, probably should be around there. So I've just turned my attentions elsewhere. I don't know if you have anything for that one.
Come on, Jake. This is the Bayern Munich bet. It cashed again midweek in the Champions League, and it's where you can still find the juice.
Over.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Both teams have scored no, and over 2.5 goals at plus 324. And it's going to make my board this week because at that price, it's still worth the play. Borussia Mönchengladbach, the second fewest expected goals in the Bundesliga this season. They're not a great attack. And so I'll just bank on Bayern Munich to score their 3 goals, ho-hum, and go on and win with a clean sheet. It's worthwhile when you're getting that kind of juice. I think anything over plus 300, it's worth making that play. And this is well over it at plus 324. Look, you're rolling the dice a little bit. I fully admit that. But based upon this number, I think it's just in a decent betting range where the reward is there for a realistic scenario because Bayern Munich continue to do it. So yeah, it's been a profitable play all season. So let's keep on going.
I'm going to follow you in on that number because that's a huge price.
Yes.
Gladbach, they've failed to score in 3 or 4 home games as well. The only team they scored against was Frankfurt, and I think if me and you cobbled together an 11 aside, we'd score against them.
Yeah. Speaking of Eintracht Frankfurt, they thank you for telling me. It's just worthwhile. It's the number again. And that's what we try to provide you here on this podcast. Eintracht Frankfurt, who just conceded, I think Liverpool's still scoring against them. I can't believe how bad they are defensively. I mean, now they play St. Pauli. It's not a great attacking side, but they're at home. And for Frankfurt, I'm not even looking at the result. I'm looking at the total. It's set at 3, and the over's at -102. Is it playable based upon the opponent? Is this a week that there might be finally a little bit of a reset, or do you still just blindly back the overs when it comes to Eintracht Frankfurt?
Good, yeah. Especially when it's at 3. I mean, you'd be shocked if there's not at least 3 goals in the game. Come on. I think we said that.
I kicked myself I didn't make it one of my best bets. I said on this podcast, bet the over when it comes to Eintracht Frankfurt. In terms of my best bets, I, for whatever reason, didn't put it in last week. I was kicking myself.
Yeah, over 3.5 landed in all bar one of the games this season. So, yeah, it's an automatic play. I mean, sooner or later, the line's going to jump up to 3.5 for just as a starting point for Frankfurt games because, yeah, woeful defensively, but, flair attack.
Okay. Anything else in the Bundesliga, or is that about it?
No, I've got 3, so I'm going to rattle through them quickly because we are running a bit out of time. Friday night, Werder Bremen versus Union Berlin, over 2.75 goals, +105. Plus money is lovely for this bet. It's a goal haven in the Bundesliga. 65% of total matches in the league have gone over 2.5 goals, which would see half this bet win. 43% have gone over 3.5 goals. Werder have gone over 2.5 in 6 of 7, over 3.5 in 5 of 7. Union over 2.5 in 5 of 7, and over 3.5 in 3 of 7. Werder games are averaging 3.9 goals, Union's 3.6. And XG-wise, these are 2 of the top 3 worst defences in the league, based on expected goals against. So I think this could be quite a high-scoring game. I'm going to take Leipzig to go to Augsburg and win at a flat, even money. Leipzig 2-1-1 away, but they drew with Dortmund and lost to Bayern. Been to Mainz and Wolfsburg, won both of those. Augsburg, worst team in the league by a mile, under expected points. Create very little, concede plenty. Looks like a very nice matchup for Leipzig. And the final one is Stuttgart -3/4 at home to Mainz at -104. Mainz continues to be poor. We backed against them last week. We had a nice +150 winner. Leverkusen went there and won 4-3. 4 expected goals in that one as well for Leverkusen. So far this season, Mainz 1-1-5, really struggling. Stuttgart, excellent start to the season, 5-0-2, 3rd on expected points, 100% record at home, 2nd best defence in the league. And I would have a slight nod to Stuttgart win to 0 at +265 as well, because all 3 of the home wins have come to 0.
Okay, excellent. We'll leave it there. Your 5 units to play with. What direction are you going here for the board this week?
I'm doing a unit on 5 plays. Milan win to 0 versus Pisa, +107. Over 2.75 goals, Werder Union at +105. Both those are on Friday. Espanyol to beat Elche, +107. Leipzig to beat Augsburg, -100. And under 2.5 goals in Bournemouth for Forest at +103.
Okay, I'm going to stay away from the Premier League games for my best bets. But same thing, 5 plays, 1 unit each. Over Eintracht Frankfurt, St. Pauli, 3. 3's the total at -102. Bayern Munich, both teams to score, no. Over 2.5 at +324. Let's go. Let's go Verona to win at home, their first win of the season at +133. In La Liga, let's go Espanyol, team total over 1.5 goals at +120. And just for the kids out there, let's go with an El Clasico bet. Let's go both teams to score, yes, and Real Madrid wins the game at plus 205. Let's get back on track with some big money, some big hitters this weekend. That's it for episode 60 of Pinnacle FC. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Anything that you do to put out this podcast and show some love, we get more attention, and we'll continue to bring you the goods each and every week. He's Jake. I'm Wheels. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Pinnacle FC.